My graduation, I started reading NCERT, started reading newspaper, and to see the previous year question paper and plan my strategy accordingly. Wrote the mistakes which I committed in my second attempt, that basics are more important. And for mains, I suggest that yes, current affairs play a vast role.
Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS Spotlight, a show where we bring our toppers, our achievers into spotlight and try to capture their inspiring journey in the civil services examination. Today, we have Mr. Vishal Dhakad, who is special not only because he has cleared this examination twice, but also he mentored, he guided the hundreds of aspirants during his stint as a mentor. Let's welcome Mr. Vishal Dhakad, AIR 39, Civil Services Examination 21. Welcome, Vishal.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, Vishal, I would like to know, how did you start your journey in the civil services examination? And what was it which motivated you to go for civil services?
Till 12th, I didn't decide for civil services. मतलब उस समय पता भी नहीं रहता है क्या करना है. But in 12th class when people mature little bit, so मैंने देखा कि मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ अपनी लाइफ में जो कि मुझे रिस्पेक्ट, रिकॉग्निशन, साथ साथ में डाइवर्सिटी ऑफ जॉब भी दे और ऐसी चीज़ जिससे मैं कभी बोर ना हूँ, ऐसा एम्प्लॉयमेंट जो मुझे सेटिस्फेक्शन भी दे, मैं लोगों की मदद कर पाऊँ. तो जब इन चीज़ों के बारे में मैंने देखा तो मैं दोस्तों से बात की या फिर नेट बेट पे देखा, तो द थिंग विच फर्स्ट केम इन माई माइंड on everybody also talk that about that IAS. So I started preparation of civil services after my 12th, like not dedicatedly after 12th, but yes, in my graduation I started reading NCERT, started reading newspaper. So it started in 2015 and dedicatedly from 2017.
Great to know that. Vishal, everyone has few targets, few objectives during the initial phase of preparation.
Yes.
What were yours?
My targets were first basically to stick to the syllabus and to see the previous year question paper and plan my strategy accordingly. And also some of my observation with respect to my targets are to identify my weaknesses with respect to the civil services and also my strength with respect to the civil services. Because see, some people's strengths are they are very good in essay and answer writing, like automatically their flow of words, vocabulary is good. But it was not the case with me. My answer writing was not good at all. So I decided to first do the exercise. In NCERTs, every chapter we find exercise. तो उसके पीछे जो questions लिखे रहते हैं, I used to solve them. Because in the initial phase of preparation, you can't go for the UPSC mains question papers because they are quite tough. So in the beginning, I started with that. So
You decided to go
yes.
in a phased manner.
Yes.
Okay. Vishal, this was your third attempt, 2021. Yes. And during your second attempt, you got appointed for Indian Postal Services.
Yes.
How this third attempt was different from your previous ones?
See, in this attempt, I could find out some of my weaknesses, some of my mistakes which I committed in my second attempt, first thing. Second thing is because I was in this phase of preparation since last 3-4 years, so things were like wind up. I got to know, I realized many things like trial and error. So that trial and error, through them I learned a lot of things. And जब third attempt का main start हुआ after clearing prelims, so first thing which I did, I wrote the mistakes which I committed in my second attempt, जो मैं improve कर सकता हूँ third attempt में. So around 30 pages, I wrote a 30 pages of note कि जो मुझे इस attempt में करनी है, जो मैंने पिछले attempt में mistakes की. So like for example, I did a lot of answer writing, but I didn't focus much on like putting diagrams and refining the things like substantiating the points with facts, values, etc. So which I did in this attempt.
You learned from your previous attempts and then
Yes.
you tried to implement
Yes.
your strategies. Okay. Very common question among the aspirants who decide to prepare for civil service examination is how to choose the optional. According to you, Vishal, what should be the parameters, what should be the criteria to decide the optional subject in a rational manner?
Okay. So, see, some of the toppers or many of the toppers suggest that choose one optional in which you have an interest. See, I have a I differ from them, or I have a different view. I believe that your prime motive is to clear this exam. So yes, interest is one thing, but don't choose optional just on the basis of interest. For example, if you like to read M. Lakshmikant, just don't in a flow or in emotions go for PSIR, because it includes political theory also, where you need to read Aristotle, Plato as well. You need to study about comparative politics as well. So interest may be in one part of that particular optional, and by mistake you choose that optional, then you regret. So interest is one thing. Other than that, also see the demand of the exam, also see the pattern of last 5-6 years, see the syllabus also. Some optional syllabus is quite small that you can revise those optional in 3 or 4 days. So all these parameters also matter. So see the syllabus, have an interest, that is prime requirement but not the only one. And third is to look at that, can you revise that particular optional in 4 to 5 days. So those are the important parameters.
That is going to help the aspirants. Yes. Okay. One more thing, from my experience, I can say that in optional subject, they put the questions up to MSc level.
Yes.
So what should be the strategy, what should be the approach of an aspirant to cover the optional subject in a comprehensive manner within a limited time frame?
For that matter, I would suggest that in optional, we, as you already mentioned, that MSc level type of questions are there. So we also need to show the examiner that we are writing answer of PhD level. Then only you can score, a person can score 300 plus marks in optional. So for that matter, you need to collect those fodder material, those keywords. For example, in PSIR, if you are writing answer with keywords like for example, like gunboat diplomacy, you are writing dehyphenation, all these keywords, then there are chances that you fetch more marks. So according to me, we need to prepare in that manner. And as you mentioned that how to go about that to prepare for MSc level up thing. So I would suggest for any optional, there are material available, but more important is you must make your own notes. One must make own note in that manner that they can be revised in 5 days, because the gap between after GS paper 4 and optional paper are 5 days. So your notes must be in the manner that you can revise at least for a once whole optional. Otherwise 5-10 दिन पहले से GS पेपर्स होते हैं तो आप ऑप्शनल को रिवाइज ही नहीं कर पाते, एंड यू कांट डिलीवर इफ यू हैव नॉट रिवाइज्ड इट इन दैट मैनर. So that was my strategy.
We all know that current affairs are very important component of examination, civil services examination process, and the syllabus of examination is as vast as ocean. So how to cover the current affairs, current issues in a more organized manner, and how to integrate the current issues with the conceptual topics in the syllabus?
Okay. So first thing is there is a different way to read current affair for prelims and mains. So for prelims, what I feel is that basics are more important, and 80% time an aspirant should devote to the basics and 20% to the current affair. The thing is, in UPSC, the questions are not asked like in state PCS, like person in news or date. So even for example, if enforcement directorate in the news for 2 or 3 days because a case is busted by it, etc., the question would not be like which case it solved recently. The question would be who are in the selection committee of enforcement director. So all these are already, if you have basics are strong, you already covered that. So my focus is to 80% on the basics. And for mains, I suggest that yes, current affairs play a vast role, because examples, case studies, best practices, facts, committees, reports which you collect, you can collect them very well from the newspapers, from the current affair magazine. So yes, for mains, current affairs play a larger role or a wider role. But for prelims, my advice is to first focus on the basics. If your basics are so strong, definitely 70% of 70 questions would be definitely from basics. If you correct 50, and out of those 30 questions from current affair, if you have educated guess on 10, then definitely there are chances to clear this exam.
Vishal, one more thing I would like to know is how many newspapers one need to go through in order to give comprehensive coverage to current issues?
I would suggest one newspaper is sufficient. But if a student is of political science and IR as an optional, then I would suggest to read other newspapers editorial also, if they are good. Like for example, if I am reading the Hindu newspaper daily, and if my optional is PSIR, then I must also look at what are editorials in the Indian Express today, because sometimes C. Raja Mohan and other good scholars write editorials in that. So one newspaper is good, but at the interview stage, I believe that one must read at least 2 newspapers.
Thank you. Vishal, one more thing. In the newspapers, there is news, but
Yes.
In terms of content, sometimes they are highly incomplete.
Yes.
So how to give completeness to the content on a particular issue? What are the other sources one can refer in order to get multi-dimensional perspective on a particular issue?
Okay. So first thing, as you rightly mentioned, the news is not holistically covered, and it is not possible because the news build-ups, everyday news build-ups. So newspapers' main motive is to cover that follow-up news layer by layer. So newspaper is important because it forms layer in your mind, so you need not to memorize the things. It automatically consolidate in your mind so that you have an idea, fair idea what is going on. But here comes the role of monthly magazine. As you mentioned that newspaper not holistically cover the topics. So read one good monthly magazine every month, which covers the most of the burning issues which comes in 1 month holistically. So that from that one can cover.
And what should be strategy of an aspirant while making notes or about newspaper, news events?
Okay. I would suggest for prelims, don't make newspapers notes. The thing is, monthly magazine covers most of the factual data informations. Because if you start making notes of small minute things from the newspaper, you will make like 800-900 pages copy in 1 year. That would be very difficult to revise, first thing. But for mains, yes, one can make notes out of newspaper. For instance, for essay, we can find anecdote, stories or case studies in the newspaper which we can quote in the essay or start our essay. Means introduction में वो use हो सकते हैं. And for GS also, sometimes committee report is there in the newspaper or some examples. For example, today itself I read in the Hindu newspaper that a 17-year-old boy killed 70-year-old person who was his grandfather, I think. So this, if the question is related to society, decreasing values in our society, you can use this example. This cannot be found in the current affair monthly magazine. These are daily news. Such kind of security related examples you can find in the newspaper. So for that matter, for mains specifically, I believe newspaper is a good source of collecting fodder material. But for prelims, I think we need not to make notes.
Thank you. One more thing, Vishal. Students go for mock test series, mains mock test series, and many times they are not aware about what are the key areas they should focus on while writing the answers, while assessing their performance. So what are the key points one should look for in his or her answers during the mock sessions, according to you?
Okay. Is it about mains answers, right?
Yes, means answers.
Okay. So, first, I believe that aspirant must adhere to the structure, that intro, body, and conclusion. Because when we see toppers copy, it is clearly visible that this is intro, this is body, and this is conclusion. So, first thing. Second, I believe is the demand of the question. Fulfilling that is very important. Nowadays, earlier till 2016-17, it was a trend that if you complete a paper writing 20 questions, there are chances that you will clear mains. But nowadays, aspirant like complain, I write all the 20 questions, but I couldn't get into the mains, selected in the mains. The thing is, they are not fulfilling the demand of the question. So, structure and then also a demand of the question is very important. Third is presentation. By presentation, I do not mean that you to write in a very beautiful handwriting, but it must be legible to checker, because checker or examiner is of around 50 to 60 age of professor. So it becomes very difficult for him or her to check a copy if it is not legible. Fourth, in presentation itself, we can see that if you make graphs, diagram, it looks more interesting and attractive. So it must be there. And fifth and most important thing, I believe, is how you are substantiating your points. Because the thing is, even a layman can write. For example, if the question is related to health, he or she can also write a layman like, there are many problems in health, infrastructure is not good, but you need to substantiate them in order to make your answer different. Like if you are writing that India is not spending much on the health, then you must write not other than the much you must write 1.4% of GDP on health. So it must look like it is an answer of someone who is educated, who has read the fact and figures. So one must substantiate the points in mains, then only can fetch more marks.
Vishal, there is a buzz that for civil services examination, one must study at least 10 hours, 14 hours. What is your view on that? Does quantity matter, or through quality there is a scope of minimizing the time and managing the time?
Yes, quality always exceed over quantity, but the thing is, if you are studying for 4 hours, no matter with what concentration you are reading, you will not compete with a person who is studying for 14 hours with 70% of its concentration. So obviously in initial days, when you are covering your basics and standard books, you need to devote at least 10 to 12 hours. Otherwise, you would not cover or complete a book in 1 month, and then after that you would feel frustrated that I am not able to cover even one book in a month. So definitely, I believe it's not easy. More than 10 lakh people appear for the exam, and they are giving their heart and soul for this exam. So one can't say that reading just 3 or 4 hours I can clear this exam. This can happen if you have once covered standard books basics very thoroughly. After that, yes, you can also prepare for this exam with job. But initially, yes, you need to devote at least 5-6 months for at least 10 hours of study.
Vishal, in prelims examination, the syllabus is quite vast.
Yes.
The questions are raised not only from current affairs but also from number of subjects, history, geography, economics, and that vastness of the syllabus makes the prelims exam quite unpredictable. Is there any strategy, is there any formula to make it predictable?
The most important formula is to read the previous year question paper thoroughly, and by thoroughly reading, I mean analyze them. Not just read them and solve them, that I am able to do this number of questions, this number of questions. This is not the way. I suggest if one is thoroughly analyzing that these number of questions asked from polity, these number of from economy or history, then one can easily, not easily, but can predict that 50-60% questions can be predicted that they come from these kind of sources. And also, one must remember that he or she does not need to correct 100 question. 50% question if correct or 60% correct, then he or she can definitely clear the prelims. Other than that, there are other ways, for example, solving mock test as much as you can. I already mentioned that covering the basic sources. No matter what, people are searching for some the out of box material in the market. I believe for I can take my example, like in my second attempt when I got 579 rank. The result came out on 24th of September, and I already only had 15 days to prepare for prelims, which was on 10th of October. So I didn't read any of the current affair things or any things which people prefer, which are not very much linked. Like for example, if more question are asked from agriculture, people starting some material from agriculture. I only revised basics like history, geography, polity, economy, environment, international relationship, and I did that and I got 110 marks, which I cleared cutoff from general, OBC, SC, ST and every category. So that is the thing.
Great. Thanks for information. In the mains examination, a lot of people, they have a lot of knowledge, but they fail to express their knowledge, reproduce their knowledge in, because of limited time.
Yes.
So what is your view on that? I mean, how a person can optimize the use of knowledge during the examination?
Yes, this is very true. Like many aspirant come in that panic mode while they are in the exam hall. So for that matter, I believe that one should practice a lot of mock test, and mock test in a real time if possible, and also if possible in an offline mode. Nowadays, the COVID situation is quite comfortable, means cases are not coming in the rapid like it was there in the third wave. So I believe that if possible, go with some offline mock tests, because that gives that environment. At least for test, one can go. Other than that, if you are not able, if person is not able to find that appropriate environment for offline test, do test at your home in a real time manner with a stopwatch, with that pressure of exam. At least 30-40 mock test. If the aspirant is having a first attempt, then maybe you can avoid that panic mode in the exam hall.
Quite helpful. You have mentioned in your DF that you worked in Udan and Navjeevan initiatives of Madhya Pradesh, Guna district administration. What were your takeaways from these programs?
Yes, I worked in the Udan and Navjeevan program. That these were the initiatives of district administration of Guna, because my district come in aspirational district categories, so it is quite backward in terms of education and health and other parameters. So in Udan program, actually I worked as a tutor for the Sahriya tribe girls who I used to teach them general studies. So I got a very good experience while teaching them, like teaching vulnerable section of our country, and got to know about their culture, the problem these girls used to face. So I got to know about those problems, and that really touched my heart. And in Navjeevan program, I acted as a volunteer. We used to go in the villages and counsel the mothers, lactating and pregnant mother, that how and what kind of food they can feed to the children so that they can come out of the malnutrition. So that initiative also ignited the fire in my heart to prepare wholeheartedly for civil services.
Other than knowledge gain, what are other areas one should take care of during the civil services exam preparation?
Okay. Other than that, first is one needs to improve his or her willpower. That is very important, because see, motivation one can't sustain for a long. One can watch one motivational video of IAS entry with car, etc., and can study for 2 hours, but after that motivation fades. So what I believe, one needs to increase the willpower. For that matter, I generally do one exercise like connect your target with some instant gratifications. For instance, if I eagerly want to watch a movie, I connect one target, like after reading these 5 chapters only I will watch a movie. So why that? I feel satisfied that I have completed these 5 chapters. and then I will watch a particular movie. And sometimes what happens, if I complete those 5 chapters, I feel more excited that now I will complete 10 more chapters and forget about the movie. So it slowly increase person's willpower.
Vishal, during your preparation, you worked with BYJU'S as a mentor.
Yes.
What were your takeaways during the stint as a mentor at BYJU'S IAS? And also, how are these initiatives helpful for the students?
First, my takeaways are that like there are really good peoples who are dedicatedly preparing for this exam, and their doubts are sometimes very much serious and very much relatable, that genuine doubts are there. So I feel delighted to work with BYJU'S for around 2 months, which I worked. And also the thing is that it helped me also, like my communication skills are not much refined, so I talked with a lot of students, and that helped me in expressing me in a better way in the personality test which happened recently and which helped me in selection. So in that way it helped me a lot. And experience of working with BYJU'S is very good, like everyone in the team were quite cordial. They helped me a lot in the manner, in the shifting schedule, etc., because I was preparing also. And also that I said that I feel delighted to talk with the students and helping them.
Vishal, apart from our mock interview, you were also associated, you were also regular with our daily news analysis and our current affairs webinars. How was your experience, and how they were helpful in your journey?
Sometimes when a person reads newspaper, things may not be very clear because it may not be holistically covered in that. So yes, I sometimes watch the daily daily news analysis to cover the things holistically, because monthly magazine cover comes after a month. So sometimes by that time you forget that particular issue. So yes, it helps a lot, but at the same time one can't skip newspaper. Yes, if one not able to read or understand the issues, one should go to watching the video, daily news analysis and webinars also. But at the same time also try to read the newspaper, I would advise.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank
Yeah.
you for giving your valuable time and giving valuable guidance to our aspirants. Thank you.
Thank you.
So friends, today we interacted with Mr. Vishal Dhakad, who secured rank 39 in Civil Services Examination 2021. Vishal shared his experiences about his journey in the Civil Services Examination. He also shared his views on how one should go for this examination, what are the areas one should cover, and how to manage the balance between what is required in the examination and what information one has to deliver. Thank you.